Various greetings and salutations. Welcome to another session of Living World of Darkness, New York by Night. The scene is the Watering Hole, a dive bar in Queens, where Ghost has invited Limey to meet her and discuss various business opportunities, as well as what happened during the rescue of Frank Green. He's instructed to come to this bar, which is in an especially dodgy area of Queens. It's a dingy looking bar with a white sign on the watering hole and grimy writing above the door. There's a large, grumpy looking bouncer on the outside and several Harley Davidson motorcycles parked outside the entrance.
A cab pulls up outside the bar, and a tall, relatively slender man wearing a slightly beaten up dark grey mohair suit emerges, his black brogues clicking across the concrete slabs as he makes his way over to the entrance of the bar. He looks around the neighbourhood and seems to acknowledge to himself quite how run down the area is. But he kind of shrugs it off. This is it's nothing he's particularly unused to. So he kind of looks around, and then he sort of walks over to the entrance and stops in front of the bouncer. Kind of looks him up and down and says, "So, do I just walk in?"
The bouncer says, "Is Ghost expecting you?"
Yeah.
He says, "Go on then," and sort of pushes the door for you to get through.
He steps around the bouncer and into the door, and stops in the entrance and kind of looks around the bar, with an appraising look in his eye.
The bar's quite small, but very old-fashioned. It has booths with worn leather seats, a jukebox. It's filled with smoke. People seem to be smoking despite the anti-smoking law. There are several sort of bikers and their girlfriends and sat around at tables and playing pool, and they glance up in your direction as you walk in, but don't seem to pay that much attention. Ghost is sat at the bar. She's talking with a blonde woman wearing a bandana who's serving drinks. She doesn't look up straight away.
Noticing that everyone else in the room seems to be smoking, Lime kind of, is the corner of his mouth twitches into a smile. He sort of, he pulls a packet of Dunhills from his pocket and lights one up. And he walks over to Ghost, trying not to notice the fact that his shoes are sticking to the floor a little bit.
The woman behind the bar notices you coming up, and she pats Ghost on the arm and moves away to give you privacy for your conversation. And Ghost smiles at you. Limey.
Ghost, nice to see you.
She indicates for you to sit down.
He strolls up and unbuttons his suit jacket and takes a seat. Folds one leg over the other as he puffs away idly at his cigarette. So, nice place you've got here.
Yeah, me and Susie have an arrangement.
Susie.
She smiles in the direction of the barmaid.
Yeah, kind of like, winks and touches his nose, like, "Oh, got you. So it says, so, I don't know if you invited me here to show off this classy drinking establishment you seem to have procured." or if you invite me to talk business.
I always want to talk business.
A woman after my own heart, so do I.
She stands up from the stool and points to a booth that's unoccupied at the back in a particularly dark corner. Let's pull up a chair.
He stands up and, before walking away, he sort of stubs a cigarette out in the ashtray. And follows Ghost into the booth where he kind of, he kind of slopes. He's not walking with like a spring in his step. He really kind of, quite. He looks like he fits in here, like he's kind of got that dodgy slope to his walk, and he kind of slides into the booth.
Ghost slides into the booth and stretches her arms out. And she's looking particularly cocky tonight. A little bit of a twinkle in her eye.
So come on then. What's with that shit-eating grin on your face?
Oh, I'm just happy.
Any particular reason, or just woke up on the right side of the bed this morning?
Well, by the way things are going, I might be getting some power in this city. The prince has agreed that if I follow through with this little task, I'll be hanged.
Oh, very good. I'm happy for you. No, it's nice to see one's friends prosper. What's your little task that you set there?
He wants me to be... She rolls her eyes. The clan diplomat for the Tremere.
You kind of sort of blinks for a moment. Oh, that should be alright. They're quite amiable in this city. If you've met Alejandro, I think it is, or Antonio, that's the one. Antonio de la Vega. He appears to be the most active member, and he's a relatively amiable chap. For a Tremere.
Well, I think they're just testing my social skills.
Well, you've got them in abundance, so you should be a shoo-in.
But enough about me. I've heard drips and drabs of rumours about Frank Green's rescue. I thought I might hear it from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
Do you want the fast version or the comprehensive version?
Rose filled me in, sort of, but she said that you came across quite a lot of humans. There weren't really any Sabbat members there.
Yeah, I still need to get on that. Let me check. He rummages in his pocket for a he sort of like a crinkle as he pulls out a tiny little notebook, like a little moleskin, battered old thing, and sort of he says, yeah. Well, I'll tell you from the beginning, right? So we walk through this. It turns out the Seneschal's got some interesting friends. We walk through the Darklands, the Deathlands, the Shadowlands, something like that. I don't know. We walk through this but we walk into a crypt. Walk through this kind of barren, decrepit landscape. And anyway, when we walk out the other side, we're just in front of the fort, underneath one of the towers. Now, Mr. Silas had assured us that we would be under obfuscate, and we've all tooled up beforehand. I'm wearing a bit of armour, wearing a helmet. I mean, he kind of, when he says that he was wearing a helmet, he kind of pats his hat subconsciously, it's as if like he missed it. He says, so we were tooled up to the nines, ready for action, right? And we all snuck in quite efficiently. Don't get me wrong, I'm as good at sneaking around as the next man. But 2 shots ring out from one of the towers, and me and Rose have to duck inside the door just as they hit where our feet were. It was a close call, I'm telling you that much, I'm telling you that. But we get inside, and we can either go up or go down. Up leads up the tower, down leads into like an underground section of the fort. and there's footprints and there's the smell of blood. But the weirdest thing, there's this voice in our ears, inside our heads, and it's telling us to go back. It's all that stuff. We've got this real feeling of dread. At this point, I'm saying, boss, this is going to go wrong, man. This ain't good. But anyway, cut a long story sideways, we end up walking down the stairs, sneak past a room full of guards who were playing cards, we think. And we happen upon a room full of we follow the smell of blood. And we have to crawl through this like debris, like this kind of like it kind of I don't know how to describe it. It was really precariously balanced debris, but we all managed to get through it. And we get to this room where we can smell the blood, and we think, this is probably where they're keeping Frank. No, it's not. Inside, there's a few gangsters, couple of shotguns, couple of pistols, that kind of thing. Like street gangers, Haitian. Well, I think they were Haitian. Hispanic or something. And it all kicks off. Like, Silas stabs one of them, I go in for a whack on my machete, but Rose uses this power. She like fills the room with like an inky blackness, like, and half of them scarpered or cowered in a corner before we could do any real damage. So they'll, the Assamite, Leo Flynn, something like that, has a field day, kills a couple of them. But there's no Frank Green in this room. But along the way to this corridor, we'd heard whimpering coming down from one of the rooms, so we decided to follow it. When we get there, there's two men, ghouls, with this like fanatical look in their eye. You can smell petrol, and they've both got lighters. Mr. Silas lunges at one of them, tries to grab him. It doesn't work. But then one of them's about to light the petrol, and you know me, I'm relatively quick on the action there. I run over there with my machete, lob the guy's hand off. You should have seen it, blood all over the place. I had to turn my head away. But so then this Assamite flash fucker he was takes the guy I'm facing, cuts his head off, and turns the other guy into a Pez dispenser. Head dying on the floor. And he's being all death assassin about it. We cut what we think is Frank Green down, but it ain't Frank Green. We hear footsteps coming down the corridor. Shit, we've got to get out of here. I say we just run. Rose tries to use some of her powers, they don't work. She reckons they might be using a dud. So we feed him some blood, the guy comes round, I point a shotgun at his face and I say to him, "What's your name?" He says, "Barry." He used the Batman, they used a decoy. But we know the real Frank Green's is somewhere, so we're under siege, there's shotguns in the door, it's all bad. Rose uses her powers again, makes the corridor go black. A few of them brick it and run and we hear an explosion, right? Bad stuff. But two of them are still in the corridor firing bursts with their guns, but a few of us we managed to sneak past. A few of us run past, but I snuck, I'm not getting shot if I don't have to. Shit, Rose triggers a grenade. Grenade goes off. She gets pretty nasty wounds, as do the rest of us, but there's a couple of dead bodies along the corridor, so we feed up, heal ourselves up, and get on with it. Sneak through the debris. Anyway. And this is where it gets dark, man. This is where it gets dark. This ain't so groovy. We get to this room, and I can smell petrol and blood. And multiple voices inside before one of them says, "Enough playing." And Limey seems to lose some of his animation, like as if he's almost just remembering how horrific it was, and he kind of grips the table and he says, "Enough fucking about. Let's torch this fucker." Well, we open the door and Frank Green's there. And his eyes are wide open. And in front of him there's a pile of bodies, women's bodies. Real number have been pulled on him, man. Bad stuff. But Frank Green himself, he's lashed to this bed frame covered in petrol, and they've opened him up. You know what I mean? They've got these slivers
Yeah.
of wood, these like little splinters in his heart. It looks like they were playing a game of how many bits of wood it took to stake him. Anyway, we pile in, and there's this guy in there. I mean, some of them were ghouls, and the assassin takes one, Silas takes one. I'm waiting to get into the room. Rose uses the darkness spell again. Fuck, it's pitch black, I can't see. I was gonna go for Frank Green, cover him in my overcoat, try and save his. Because by this point, this Sabat fucker, he's opened his lighter and he's torched him, and the flames are rising up his legs. Anyway, it turns out Rose was already on it. She had used these tentacle things, like these shadow tentacles. She drags the bed frame out of the room, and flames seem to not be travelling as fast either, because he's laying on his back now, and that's a good thing. Anyway, I try and put the fire out of my coat. Doesn't work. But one thing I can't believe we've never thought of this. Turns out Silas carries a fire blanket with him at all times. He runs over, smothers the guy, quick as you like. I think Silas has got some celerity going on. Rips him off the bed. I'm talking hands and feet stay wired. Anyway, the ghouls are mostly dead, but this Sabat guy is tough. Really fucking tough, man. This guy is called Ryan. Shaved head. Tough guy. The portal opens and we make to move. I turn around and try and dread gaze the guy, but he ain't having none of it. He turns around and he laughs. No one laughs at my dread gaze. But anyway, long story short, we run into the portal and the Asimite decides he's going to stay behind. He's going to try and face this guy off. He's poisoned his sword, you see, with his blood. I don't know what he was going to do, but it was going to work. But, I mean, there's no way he could beat this guy. I was watching that fight, there was no way. And he decided to stay there anyway. Man, if you're stupid enough to stay in a room and fight that guy, you deserve to die. Anyway, last thing I see, Silas tosses a flashbang through, last ditch effort to do any kind of damage to this Sabat fucker. The portal closes, the Asimite's on the floor. Fuck, is he dead? I don't know. And, well, I just remember his eyes, you know? Just as the portal closed, turning around and seeing the look on his face. He shudders and sits really quietly for a moment. It's something clearly really got to him when he was there. But we got Frank Green back. And that's the main thing. We got the sheriff back, eh? Didn't do too bad or anything. All things considered.
Pretty sweet work there.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Enough to get recognised by a couple of the higher ups in the city. The Gangler, the Primogen, owes me a favour or two. Silas commended me for my efforts, told me if I ever need him, give him a call. Rose, well, Rose was just happy to get out of there. You could have used your ghost, I'm not gonna lie. These raids, I don't think I'm up to him.
I can't say I wish I was there. I'd do it away, but sounds pretty fucked up.
Not even the word, man, not even the word. Way fucked up.
Did we get any more information on the Sabat from this raid, or was it just a snatch and grab?
Oh. Well, Here's the thing, and you'll like this. He kind of snaps out of it, and he kind of becomes a bit more business-like. He checks out their gang colours, right? Their patch, it's a sugar skull with a cock's foot in the middle. You know, like a chicken's foot. Pretty distinguishable. You can find them.
Ghost.
We can start.
Sorry.
Carry on.
Ghost is taking out her notepad and writing down what you said.
Sugar skull with a cock's foot.
Right.
I think if I were to run a gang, I wouldn't make my men so easily found. If I were to run a gang.
Well, now we know who they are, perhaps we could shut them down.
My thoughts exactly. See, with this war council tonight, I've been thinking. We know where they live. We know where their territory is. Between you and me, we have enough influence to take a real big chunk out of their street operations. Some of the older people must have a way to get that place raided. Silas mentioned he had contacts in the police force. I have contacts, and he kind of stops himself talking and kind of leans across the table and goes like, I know they're not meant to, but I've got a couple of copies on my belt, you know what I'm saying? We could get that place raided.
Hmm. Yeah.
Who
I think it's
knows?
definitely
I mean,
definitely doable now. I want to find out who this gang are.
see, that's the thing. We find the leader, we take a chunk out of him, and we lose their influence. We find out where they're. I mean, you and me, we must have enough contacts between us to be able to organise a hit on their club. They've got to have a club somewhere, and I bet we can find where it is.
Well, I've been thinking about getting a few lads together to start a little gang myself, so.
Oh, really? I was
Hmm.
thinking the same thing. Plenty of thugs in Astoria, man. Astoria is a nice little place. Not too run down, but not too upmarket either. Well, bit gastro in some areas, but just the kind of place that's ripe for the taking.
What do you. I don't think we operate in the same kind of. She makes air quotes. Gang lifestyle. But she sort of flicks her head, and there are quite obviously some bruisery gang, biker types hanging around. They're not listening, but they're keeping an eye on the booth.
Yeah, yeah. It says, oh, but that's the thing. That, if anything, if we were to join forces, I'm not saying we should, but if we were, that's what would make the gang formidable. You've got your street boys. I mean, don't get me wrong, the lads I know, they can have a tumble. You know what I mean? But they've got street smarts. They've grown up around these streets. You know what I'm saying? So I'm thinking, you have a group of these street thugs. A couple of lieutenants. The lieutenants are the ones who'd run the drugs, the women. And then, you know, think about your bikers. Your average biker can really rough it. What with their access to the slightly, more brutal aspects of street life in the city. You've got your muscle, you've got your business, and that is what makes them tough. I'm not saying we have to do it, but you mentioned it. I'm just saying. We both have
She
to game.
She flips open her book and slides it towards you, and she's drawn a sort of mock-up biker patch for her, and it's a winged demon holding a machete and a pistol crossed across its chest. It says Archfiends.
The Archfiends. I like it. I like it. The Archfiends MC partnered with. And he thinks about it for a moment. And he sort of gets out his own notepad and he scribbles something down. And he slides it across the table. And it says ASE on the top. It's like only a crude little drawing, but it's and across the bottom it says Archfiend Street Elite, and it's a skull holding a switchblade between its teeth, with a snake rising from behind it. What do you say?
She holds out her hand. I think we got a deal.
I think we have a deal, Ghost. And he takes it and he gives it a firm shake. Not the way I'd usually shake a woman's hand, he gives it a proper grip, you know?
Yeah.
I think this would be a business relationship.
We've got business to deal with tonight, but another night, bring me some of your best boys. I'll bring some of mine, and we can sit down and discuss business.
I like it, I like it. Should we do it next week, perhaps? Oh, well, this week.
Yeah.
We can do it this week. What do you say?
Yeah, we can do it this week.
Wonderful. I'll put my mind to it. And he lights up a cigarette and kind of nods at her and gives her a wink. You haven't seen him this kind of... It's like when he's been kind of excited before and animated before, it's almost been feigned. Like, you can see this is what he really enjoys, this kind of lifestyle. Like, there's a kind of like a twinkle in his eye that hasn't been there before.
I'm planning on making a visit to Lady Sheridan before we go to the meeting later.
Oh, yeah? And he kind of chuckles. He's what are you up to, Ghost?
She smiles. Oh, you know me. Can't resist a woman with a whip.
Hey, man. We're all suckers for it. Anyway, if you're going to be visiting the fair Lady Sheridan, you're going to want to spruce up a little bit. I'd best get out of your hair.
But, it doesn't hurt to charm the more socially adaptable members of our society, does it? They think they've got a little Bruges plaything.
And really, you have a Ventru plaything. I like it. I like it a lot.
Precisely.
Kind of gets up and buttons his suit jacket and goes to turn, then looks back at her with kind of this respect in his gaze. He sort of like nods. I'll see you around, Ghost.
We'll be seeing you.
He tilts his hat and gives the bikers a quick nod before he walks out.
You, out the corner of your eye, you see the woman from behind the bar wait for you to go towards the door, and then she slips into the booth with Ghost, and the booth's just dark enough for there to be a little love bite going on before Ghost makes her way towards the BDSM club.
I suppose that's where
And that's where the scene ends.